Good afternoon. I think it's 12:45, so I'm going to start on my presentation. Try and make sure that I leave time for questions at the end of the presentation. So my name is Roger Gale, and I've worked for the past couple of years with engineer from the automation program at BCIT to develop an industrial industrial network cybersecurity program. So we put together a proposal to the board of directors at BCIT, which was accepted, and we're in the process of implementing the program right now. Some of the students sitting up at the front from the program, I don't know why they're here. They've heard this before. They should be elsewhere. But we'll try and entertain you for the next little bit, talk about what we're trying to do at BCIT, and then I do have a little bit of an ask at the end here. So let's talk a little bit about hacking before I actually get into this. When I look back on my my history in teaching at BCIT, and before that as a system analyst, I came across a headline back in 2012 from the Register. And in 2012, the Register had this headline, hackers get 10 months to own victims with 0 days before the world and dog find out. This was a little bit of an eye-opening thing for me. At the time, this is 2012, that's back a few years, I was surprised to see that some of the research that was being done on security was showing that when a 0-day was exposed to the world and the patch came out, that in many cases, hackers had already discovered that and had been in the system for some time. And going back to the Register this year, or last year, I saw another one. Hackers don't just want to own networks, they literally want to own your network. No one knows they're there. So this is the essence of what becomes an advanced persistent threat in an organization, and we need to deal with that stuff. And we need people, as was said in both keynote sessions. So BCIT felt that it was important to start on this stuff. And I just want to show you a couple of threats that I've come across that are kind of fun, but kind of awful too. We have small CPUs now on little tiny boards. I've got one right here. I bought this for $2.20 off eBay. It took 6 months to arrive. No, about 4 weeks to arrive. It's a DigiSpark board, and it's quite cool. It seems like a little innocuous thing. It's got a CPU, some memory, and some flash on it. And it can be used as a prototyping board, very similar to an Arduino or that type of environment. But what was interesting was that when I looked on GitHub, I found this. So we have on here some scripts that allow this little device to act like a keyboard. And one of the really cool ones was this script here, which is the SAM, what was it? On either of them, the SAM dumper script. And the SAM dumper script, I just thought, well, let's see what it does. So I coded it. So I just did downloaded it, put it on this thing, and thought, okay, well, I'll just try and see what it does. So let's see what it does. So if I change my display settings here so that we can actually duplicate the slideshow and you can see my screen. There. I'm going to just stick the thing in my USB port, and when I stick it in the USB port, a little red light flashes for a little while it's booting up. And then hopefully, if I've got the right chip, it takes control of my computer, which it doesn't seem to do. So I'm going to try another one. So I hate demos because they sometimes don't seem to work the way intended. So we'll try one more. Hopefully it's not offline. So it takes a couple of seconds usually for it to start running the script. And of course, guess what? It's not running the script.
You should have spent more money on your product.
Yeah, I think that might be a good idea. So there is a product. It's called the Rubber Ducky by Hack5. It's about $40. And it does virtually the same thing, but it does it as a commercial product. What this is supposed to do is supposed to take my security database and dump it to a website. And so hopefully I can get that going. If I can't, I'm just going to give up and go somewhere else. Maybe hide in a hole somewhere. So I did this just before I came into the presentation. Can you believe it? Try a different USB port. I can see it booting up. So I see the red light flashing. What was interesting when I looked at it was it took literally seconds for it to dump the entire SAM database to a website. So this is just running a little PowerShell script to dump the website to another database website. And when the red light comes on, it's done. And if I kind of flip over to the website, let's say I think it's in this webhook site, it's sitting here by now. There it is, right there. And this is it. It's base 64 encoded right now. I can decode it. It's easy to do. I just search for a base 64 decoding site, and that decodes it. The nice thing about Windows 10 is the security database is encrypted now. So Windows 7, you're hooped if I get it. But with Windows 10, it's encrypted. But this database I can take offline. So all I need to do is I'll go down to where we actually see where it's posted, which is way down here. That's the database, by the way. It's all sitting there. The A's are everything. Are just spacers. And I'll just get down to here. I need my mouse. I brought my mouse out, and I just don't know where to put it. Oh, well. Do it this way. So if I start here, starting there, head down to the bottom, shift, Roger. Yeah, did it. So now I got to head back up again. It's so much fun. You know, when I'm sitting in my little computer room at home, it's very straightforward to do these things. So there it is. Oh, it went up. What's that? Oh, I've got a mouse. It's just trying to get the thing to obey my commands with when you're 57 and not young anymore. Damn. Yeah, shift and arrow keys. That's what I was doing. It's not doing it, so there we go. I need page up because it's going to take a while to go up by arrows. And it's probably better if I just go all the way. I don't want to select everything. So I want to go back up here, grab it. So Sunny told me to keep it to one presentation because it takes so long to do or one demo because it takes me so long to do these things. So he's right. So shift. Crap. Anyway, to take it on faith. I can decode that, and if I do decode it, what you'll see is the odd bit of English text saying things like a registry entry or something along those lines. You'll see the odd bit in there, but all the security information is actually encrypted. But the cool thing about this is that I've got the data on this webhook site. Like, it's sitting there right now. That's the data from the security database. If ever a vulnerability comes up in Windows 10 in their encryption of the SAM database, I have it. It's here. I can decrypt it later. I can set cracking tools to run for days on end. No trouble. It's off. So, and I had an incident, like a time when someone said to me, well, our system's secure. The auditors say it's secure. And I went and looked and saw USB keyboards plugged into machines. Well, physical security is very important, making sure that people don't have access to a logged-in machine. So when we look at what we're up against now, I have a little Raspberry Pi sitting here, very portable hacking station. The new model requires more power. This one runs on a little lithium battery, no trouble. But the new model requires a bit more power. And these Wi-Fi dongles, I bought this one for $7 from China. But they're inexpensive as well. So Wi-Fi interception, a lot of the tools now are automatic. You don't need a lot of technical knowledge. You can use Wi-Fi to run all the aircrack NG scripts. So that's kind of speaking a different language, but all of those things run automatically for you if you use that, right? And even on Amazon, this adapter, boy, oh boy, everyone has to be adjusted. Okay, let me just make sure that we have the presentation in a nice way. There. It's supposed to like my PowerPoints. These little guys that are pictured in the screen here, $48 off Amazon, something along those lines, right? And that one is a long distance sensing antenna on it. This one, it can pick stuff up, but it doesn't have quite the distance. Old software in the operational technology world, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Sometimes your vendor specifies the operating system in the patch version. You can't upgrade or patch your Windows 7 machine. Sometimes they specify a Java level, and you have to run that Java level, otherwise you're off vendor specification, and if things don't work, well, you can't have that in an industrial setting. So we have an interesting thing, and it's the operational technology and the internet or information technology divide. And that divide is very clear. In operational technology or informational technology or information technology, we have these end devices that allow you to enter information, store information, display information, delete information. But, well, I guess if it's nursing, it does kill you. But for the most part, this is just information. If your identity is stolen, you're not dead from it, right? It doesn't hurt you. It's not affecting that real world around you. It's not flooding your city. And so all those end devices are things like laptops, phones, and whatever in IT. And IT, it's important. We need to protect those. We need to keep those safe. But OT, operational technology, that's where we have devices that measure things. They affect the physical world. They open valves. They close valves. they sense, they move. And they're under the direction of a controller. And those devices look like this. They look quite different. But what's interesting is in the convergence of technologies is that these industrial network technologies are starting to use similar technologies to IT. They speak different protocols. So an industrial controller won't necessarily speak to a server on an IT network unless that server is speaking that industrial protocol. But they sense and affect the real world. And that's a fundamental difference in the technologies. And what is really interesting is that IT people, they generally do not understand industrial network technologies. They do not understand that they speak these different protocols. That RS-232 and RS-485 interfaces are still used widely, even though those are ancient technologies in the IT world. And this is what BCIT decided that we needed to talk about, was we needed to build a program around operational technology as a very fundamental thing that we need to understand and protect. We all know that there's strong demand in the field. This is the Robert Half survey of salaries in technology. If anyone doesn't have it, they should get it. It's free. And we know that security experts of all types are needed. And if you actually look at those salaries at the bottom, if you can see them, those salaries are about 20 to 30% higher than a network administrator's salary or a system administrator's salary. It's a good field for people to get into, but it's really hard to convince people to get into the field for some reason. And it isn't all about sitting in a little room somewhere typing on a computer. So our program goals, when we developed the program, were to give an OT foundation, an operational technology foundation to the students. So the students take what is essentially an engineering light program in the first year. They learn about operational technologies. They learn about PLCs and what they are and how they work. And then provide a risk planning and risk response training in the program too. And as in everything, communication is absolutely critical in an organization. You just look how Life Labs handled the communication of their data breach. It could have been done, well, it's easy to point fingers, I know, but a modicum of communication between the CEO and a security team would have been beneficial when the CEO comes out to speak. So providing the IT and OT foundation, getting the students to understand both structures. So when we built the program around a model that consists of operational technology, about 26% of the program. Information technology, which is the Linux and the Windows server administration, that type of thing, about 19% of the program. Our cybersecurity courses specialized in cybersecurity constitute about 40% of the program. And we also have communication and math as foundational skills that the students would need. This little diagram over here was done by my colleague Dave Leversage, who I worked with on the development of the program. He was by far the bigger part of it, by the way. He came up with the idea, and I got to tag along, and I've loved the ride. So this little circle, that's a mind map that he wrote up about the program. So it shows up over here too, which I and it shows the high degree of interrelatedness of every aspect of the program with everything else. So the program involves two schools at BCIT, the School of Energy and the School of Computing and Academic Studies. We've worked together to develop the program to integrate skills together so that the students do learn some coding. They learn electronics. They learn networking, communication, operational technology, and then security and analytical skills. But what's more important is we've designed the program so that in the second year, those skills are combined. Electronics is not separated from coding anymore. Electronics and coding go together. And we really need to get that out to the world. That's what it's all about. That's what this little USB thing that I stuck in my computer is all about. A little bit of code, a little bit of a microcontroller, understanding that, and putting those things together. An essential component of the program is the BCIT's cyber range that we're building. And it's not just a cyber range, it's an industrial cyber range. So if you search for cyber range on the internet, you'll find lots of cyber ranges that you can access over the internet. No trouble. To talk about the cyber range, I need to talk first about a Security Operations Center. This Security Operations Centers have been starting to develop in organizations. They're usually set up as a centralized organization that is responsible for security in the organization. And just a quote from InfoSec, it's a command center of highly qualified and talented ethical hackers and security analysts. And looking at a security operations center and the structure of a security operations center, it's usually made up of a minimum of 3 tiers. The first tier is the analyst, alert analyst level, so a security analyst, tier 1. Now these are not people who are picked up off the street and given a book and this is what you do. These are people that actually understand networks, how networks work. And they have a critical role of analyzing an alert and then either elevating the alert or dealing with it. The next one is the incident responder. So if an alert can't be dealt with by the analyst, then that is forwarded to an incident responder. The incident responder then goes to the playbook, see if there's any plays that they need to implement or create a new play if necessary. But of all of them, the most interesting is the hunter. And in order to hunt for cyber threats that are pervasive on a network, you need a cyber range. Hunters need a range to hunt on. So we want to build, and we are building, a range for hunters to hunt on. So our plan, to get into it, is to develop a range, a lab. We've been given the space by BCIT to develop the lab, so that's in process. I had a meeting with the architect last week. There was a whole group of us had a meeting with the architect last week. And we're taking cohorts of 20 students. Our hope is to take 40 students in this year if we can. And we put the students into work groups of 4. So we've got a workbench specified that will have a group of 4 students. Each of the 4 students has their own equipment to work with. We have a raised platform in the middle of the bench, and on that platform we have a simulated system. right now it'll be, for our first iteration, will be a manufacturing platform. We separate the students into colored groups so that we can do blue team, red team, and purple team exercises. So we won't just have 2 teams, we have lots of teams within the lab. Each desk, for want of a better word, has access to IT and OT equipment. It's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to this. I'm just really enthused that I'm on the building end of this. This is going to be fun. And it isn't just fun, it's critical, I think, to what we need for the future, for where we need to go. Our manufacturing facility is this, and let's see whether it'll play. So it's a Fisher Techniques factory. It consists of 4 sections. It's a tire manufacturing facility. There's a high bay warehouse. I call it, I don't know, there's something that heats up the rubber and then applies tread to the tire and then sorts the tires by tread, which in this case is colored pucks. It's kind of a cool device. They're about $3,000 each, so they're not that expensive. We take each of the sections of the cyber range and hook them up to a PLC. So pictured in there, this is a, I'm supposed to use a microphone if I move, so I've been trying to be good. Test. Okay. So this is a Siemens PLC, and it's hooked up to, they're hooked up to each section of the factory, and then we have the PLCs all hooked up to something a lot of people won't recognize, but you should recognize. It's a switch. This is a switch, just like a switch that's on a rack, or just like the switch that you have in the back of your home router. That's all that is, except for that it's industrial switch. And so it's got low latency, high speeds, speaks protocols that we don't know yet. but that device then is used by the range to communicate with all the other areas in the range. What was really fun was when I took Wireshark and I could shark the entire operation of this manufacturing facility. And then I could do a playback attack on it. It was really fun. This is, as I said, this is cool stuff. So, our manufacturing range will be the first range we implement, and it's going to follow from what we're trying to do is follow the Cisco plant-wide converged structure. I forget the full acronym of it, but so we're using Cisco equipment to build it, and Rockwell came through with equipment for the industrial end. The proof of concept we built, I have in my office, and it works. But we did that with Siemens PLCs. We're building the range with Rockwell to start, and using Cisco equipment at least to start as well. We wanted to build the range with a certain amount of expandability. So I'm going to go back a few slides here. When we look at the desks in the range, the desks themselves are quite large. And that manufacturing range fits on 1/2 of the desk. So the other half of the desk is free for other operational technology that we might want to implement in the future. So at this point, that kind of ends my development of this. But my next thing was to start talking about critical infrastructure, because that's something that we need to protect in our society as well. So the Government of Canada says that critical infrastructure are the processes, systems, facilities, technologies, networks, assets, and so on that are essential to the safety and security and economic well-being of Canadians and the effective functioning of government. That's critical infrastructure. And so that consists of, well, pretty much everything that people do. Transportation, energy, food, all of those things are critical to our environment. And what we need to do is protect that. We need to protect that from nation states, and we need to protect that from hackers. We need to protect our critical infrastructure. How do we do that? So in the future, our goal is to utilize the rest of that lab that we're building to build 6 different ranges so that we don't just have a manufacturing range, but we actually have a water range. We have traffic light management system of some type. Can you imagine if someone hacked into I see Leo sitting over there, into Leo's systems and turned all the lights red downtown Vancouver? Don't give them ideas. I'll turn. Oh, okay. There you go. There you go. Yeah. So we want to build more than what we're building. We want to continue to build. We want to continue to evolve, to change, to implement new technologies, and to build more. So part of what we're doing when in developing this has been to enter into a relationship with other organizations across Canada. So even though we're using Rockwell equipment in the lab, we're partnering with Siemens. We're partnering with IBM, City of Vancouver, University of New Brunswick, Ryerson, Polytechnic Montreal. We've drawn together 16 players across Canada. Now there's up to 76 supporters of this initiative to build a critical infrastructure protection network. A network of organizations that will share information about issues they face in protecting their critical infrastructure. And our goal is to see this lab that we're building as one of the components of this critical infrastructure protection, where industry can come in and test and validate their procedures. They can implement emergency response plans within a controlled environment so that they can see how they respond to it. We want to be able to train more people in what we do. So that's our goal. That's what we're trying to do. I'm working with, I can't say I have, I'm working with some highly motivated people who see the benefit of this. And we'd like to get more people involved in building out this network of people across Canada so that we can continue to manage our systems and protect them. So that's about it for my presentation. In conclusion, hackers want to become persistent in your network. And it's nation states and it's organized hacking groups that are in. It's not the 12 or 13-year-old breaking into, what is it, war games, that computer there. There's also many things that I can do to get into a system, and it doesn't require a great deal of technical competence to do. Making that little USB didn't require a lot of technical competence on my part. just an understanding of how things link together. Operational technology differs from information technology. And we call it the IT-OT divide for a reason. The engineers that work on the operational technology don't understand IT, and the IT people don't understand operational technology. But I went through this about 9 years ago. Telephone people didn't understand IT. IT people didn't understand telephone. It's been done before. This has happened before, and it's converging, right? Our INCS program will provide students with skills in cybersecurity in an OT environment. And finally, SIPNet will provide additional opportunities to BCIT students, industrial partners. And so I'm inviting anyone who might be interested in this organization we're trying to establish across Canada. Please let me know, and we'll touch base. We'll get you in touch with the group so that we can build out this organization even further. Thank you very much. Thank you. I put questions and answers here. I'm not sure if I'll be able to answer every question, but if anyone has any questions, please go ahead. Yes?
When's that cyber range going to be ready?
So the architect tells me October of 2020. So we're hoping we can push the timeline a bit on that. It's, you know, we want to do it right, but we want to do it. I would prefer September. So if we can move that up that timeline, we will. Yes?
You're talking about IT versus OT security, that in the world I live in, we're talking about convergence of them, and one is not separate from the other because we understand the risk and threats, right?
Right.
You teach cybersecurity IT at BCIT. You're now introducing that to OT. Is there any plan to talk about that convergence because everyone else is? So from a training institute, are you talking about that?
It is, oh, of course, within our areas, we certainly do talk about that. We see the convergence coming, right?
Well, I think it's here. I'm just saying, as an
Well,
institute, are you talking about training?
it's here for some organizations, but many organizations it still exists. And when you have a plant that's been running for 20 years, and it's been running on that old technology, and you don't want to change it because that involves downtime, it becomes difficult to see that the divide exists in that environment. And so our focus group was very clear that at this point, many organizations still run some of the older technologies that they can't update, but they don't want to update. They know they have to, but they have to shut down to do it, and that type of thing. So, yes?
Further to the question that was just asked,
Yeah.
I noticed in the group of organisations there that were participants in this focus group,
Right?
there was municipalities, educational institutions, and suppliers of industrial automation processes technologies. How much representation from industry do you have on that board?
So let me clarify something. Our focus group was, I believe it was, Dean, was it mostly industry? I think it was entirely industry for our advisory group. But I believe that was mostly from industry. The group that I put up there for SIPNet, so the Critical Infrastructure Protection Network that we're trying to build, that's a different group. It started off, it was driven by Cyber New Brunswick. They saw the need to develop a national strategy for critical infrastructure protection. So they drew together a few partners. We were drawn in early in the game because of our involvement in developing this this program that we've developed. So.
Sorry, to support this, so this is thinking sort of strategically at the national and
Yes.
regional government level. What kind of involvement did organisations like the Canadian Cybersecurity organisation play in those discussions as well? Because they're very active in that same space.
Yeah, so I can't, I'm not an expert on the group. I just know that we've involved ourselves in the sense that we're trying to build this critical infrastructure, and we had a meeting in Ottawa where we invited the cybersecurity group in to present, and we presented to them to provide some two-way communication. But I don't know where that progress is at, because that's in another group from where I am. I'm on the training and infrastructure end, so I don't know the kind of higher end communication. Anything else? Yes.
One more thing.
Yeah, oh, sure.
We hire a lot of graduates from BCIT.
Right.
Into our industry, and a lot of them come from electrical engineering, industrial automation roles.
Right.
That's where we're typically hiring people that work in the DCS, ICS space, and we need those skills in our business.
Right.
But as you say, there's a convergence of the IT and IoT workspaces in these manufacturing facilities, or oil and gas, or whatever it happens to be. And we need that skill set to expand, not just in silos of competency, but in more broad competency across those other sort of technical fields as well. How does what you do here impact what you're doing in your industrial, your instrumentation, instrument mechanics training program, your electrical training program?
So this program resides in the Department of Electrical and Computer Technology at BCIT. Dave Leversage is was an automation instructor. So this came out of the whole automation end, this program. I don't want to get into the politics of BCIT, but there is a drive to attempt to kind of bring this common first experience in engineering and then add cybersecurity skills and automation skills to that area. At this point, we're building out a separate program, but residing in the same area so that we can build the communication between the departments. Like most organizations, there's kind of departmental issues, and so we're in that department, exactly the one where you hire out of, and that's where we're trying to build the skills and communication with all the instructional faculty there. Not only that, a lot of us are going to retire in the next 3 to 5 years, and we've got to build out all the young people to take over and move into the new positions. That's an ongoing challenge as well. So the young people tend to understand the convergence much more quickly than the older ones, right? Yeah. Anyone else? I don't now this is recorded, put on YouTube, and so what'll end up happening is someone will watch it from that department and say, "You said." Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. I gotta get all my toys back.